Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So the Panasonic Lumix G95 or G90 has just been announced, and it is the successor to the Panasonic G85 or G80. Now, I've been using this camera for about a year now, and I absolutely love this camera, except for one thing. And before this, I was actually using my smartphone, which is what I'm shooting with right now. This is the LG G5, and before that, the only real camera that I had was this Sony CyberShot. So definitely a huge upgrade for me. But now that the Panasonic G95 is coming out, is it going to be worth upgrading if you already have the G85? Now, before I answer that, let me go over some of the big differences between the two cameras, starting with the sensor. The G85 uses a 16 megapixel sensor, whereas the G95 uses a 20 megapixel sensor. And then on the body itself, even though the dimensions are very similar, the G95 has some additional buttons. It has a white balance, ISO, and exposure. And then on the back, the G90 actually has a jog wheel. And on the flip-out screen, it's the same size and resolution, but thankfully the G95 is still fully articulating, unlike the S1 and S1R, which has that weird tilty screen. But the viewfinder has actually been upgraded to an OLED, which will give you better clarity and colors. And then on the side, the G95 has also thankfully upgraded the audio portion. They've now added a headphone jack, so now you can monitor your audio, and they've moved the mic input from here up to here, so then next time whenever you're using your flip-out screen, it doesn't block it. So big plus there. And other things that G95 has, you can actually now charge your camera through the USB. Unfortunately, the G95 still uses a micro USB, and it's not a USB-C. And the HDMI is still the micro HDMI. And then on the side of the G95, it will still retain a single card slot, but it will also still retain the amazing in-body stabilization and the weather sealing that the G85 has. So those are all the external upgrades. So let's talk about the upgrades internally. Starting with 120 frames per second, full HD slow motion, 1080p. So this is going to be great, especially for people who love adding that. I would have loved to have slow motion in this. Other things that they've done is for more professional type video editing, where they've now added 8-bit V-Log-L built into the camera, so you don't have to pay extra for that. And there are other features that the G95 has when it comes to photography as well, but those are some big features that it has. And also the biggest thing that they've upgraded is the one thing that's keeping me from calling this the perfect camera, and that is autofocus. Pretty much all the Panasonic Lumix lines of camera, they use the contrast-based autofocus along with their DFD system. And the Panasonic Lumix G95 will also still use that same system. And looking at comparisons between the G85 and the G95 definitely the autofocus works better. It has an improved system. And that leads me to the whole question of whether or not, with all the features that the Panasonic G95 has, is it worth upgrading if you already have the Panasonic G85? In my opinion, no. Because the one thing that I really wanted an upgrade on is the autofocus. And even though the G95 looks like it is better than the G85, it's just not as good as other systems which are using a phases tech or hybrid, like the Sonys, Canons, Nikons, and Fujis. Their autofocus is just so much better because they're using that system. And everything else about the G85, I absolutely love. And if the G95 had all those features plus amazing autofocus, I would have definitely upgraded, because the Panasonic Lumix G95 is about $1,200 when it comes out, and right now you could get the Panasonic G85 for around $700 US. So that is a pretty big difference. And even though the additional features are welcome, I just really feel that without having that better autofocus, I would have loved Panasonic to use phase tech or hybrid. I just really feel that it is not worth upgrading, at least for me, from this camera. Now, if you are just starting out and it's within your budget, then I would definitely choose the Panasonic G95 over the G85, hands down. But if you're already a G85 user or even a G7 user, I would highly recommend that you maybe wait a little bit longer, because that's what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the Panasonic G6. The S1 and S1R is definitely out of my range, and at the same time, it doesn't have a fully articulated screen, which I really want. And so that's kind of what I'm waiting for. And also the other options at this price range, it's really competitive. You have the Sony a6400, you have the Fuji X-T3, both of which give you way better autofocus, and they have a larger sensor. They don't use a micro four thirds, they use an APS-C. And so yeah, really tough competition out there. But those are my overall thoughts on the Panasonic Lumix G95 versus the Panasonic G85. If you had these cameras, or maybe you're thinking of purchasing a camera, upgrading yourself, I'd like to know, leave that in the comments area below. And if you wanted to see my autofocus test on the Panasonic G85, I will also leave that in the description area below as well. So thanks so much for watching. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators Group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators Group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.